Welcome to Show and Prove, Episode 1. Today is January 1st, 2025. My name is Vincenzo Marrocco, and I am the founder and CEO of Enixis. Today I will be walking you through several trades, starting with trade number 369. What we are looking at are individual purchases of Bitcoin, executed at different times and at different prices. These are what we refer to as blocks. Think of each block as a vertical progress bar that displays the current gain or loss above or below the cost of each individual purchase. By breaking down each purchase of the same asset into separate visualized blocks, the block view revolutionizes how we perceive our position. This detailed segmentation eliminates the limitation of viewing multiple purchases only as a single average, and instead, by seeing each purchase of the same asset as separate from one another, we are able to identify profitable segments of the asset that would otherwise remain invisible. This unique visualization therefore allows us to trade the blind spot, which is the portion of our holdings that is already profitable, yet hidden, when we are limited to seeing only a single aggregated average price. Now let's head over to our blocks of XRP to select a profitable block and examine the block's historical performance by clicking Analyze. We are now looking at the block map, a powerful tool that not only traces the historical path of each trade as it swaps from one asset to another, but also calculates the equivalent values of each trade across every other asset you are holding or watching. This individual block of XRP started at a size of 223 units, and after making a total of 4 trades, we ended up back in XRP for a total of 239 units. By heading over to the right side of the screen and clicking the Closed Profit button, we can see that just after 4 trades, we have reached a total realized gain of 6.8% in units of XRP. Now let's click on the Next Trade button, then select the BTC column as the asset to trade into. By clicking the right toggle arrow, we can also examine other block maps of various XRP blocks one by one. We can also navigate to the Performance tab to view each block's trade history presented in a detailed graph. Here we will find the trade value graph represented in green that shows what the equivalent BTC value was at the time of each trade. The value if held line, represented in orange, shows what the BTC value of each trade would have been had we simply just bought and held XRP. We can now see that at the time of the 6th trade, our XRP block was worth 15% more in BTC value than when it had started, and had we just bought and held XRP, its value in BTC would have actually been negative 0.27% compared to its start value. The dotted line represents the current unrealized gain, which now shows a 10% increase over the last value at the time of the 6th trade. By clicking the upper right corner, we can also see the total current value in BTC, which is now 26% higher than the initial start value. As we can see, our block of XRP has also shown strong parallel performance in USD. If we were to trade it into USD instead, we would achieve a new all-time high of $618, reflecting a 12% gain over the last value. However, for this trade we prefer to move it into BTC, realizing a 10% gain over the last value. Let's go ahead and click here to set the trade. By hovering over the equal sign, we can view the approximate current value of the trade in USD, along with the estimated resulting value after the fee and slippage. Here we've decided to trade 100% of this block. Let's click the preview button to see how the resulting block will integrate with our current BTC position. This preview provides a snapshot of our existing BTC blocks displaying their current value against USD, and shows how the XRP block will appear and align when added to the existing blocks of BTC. By clicking Next, we enter the Trade Preview window, which highlights the 4 types of gains showcased by Enixis. In this case, we've achieved gains in all 4 categories. First, there's a 10% unit gain above our last value. Second, we see how this trade positively impacts the overall portfolio growth. Third, it reflects an increase in the total unit gain percentage. Lastly, this block will achieve a new all-time high in BTC value. Now let's go ahead and click Send to place the trade. Once the block is filled, let's click Analyze to examine our results. By selecting the Closed Profit button, we can see that this single block of BTC has grown by a total of 26% in size just from the last 7 trades compared to its equivalent value at start. Now let's navigate to the portfolio view, where we can see that this marks the completion of our 369th trade. The Founders account is a real money account in Kraken that at the time of connecting it to Anixis had a start value of 67,000. Soon we will start connecting additional accounts that we will be able to toggle to from this pull-down menu here. We connected and started trading this account on December 4th, 2024, a day we will always remember as the day that Bitcoin reached 100,000 for the first time. And after 28 days of trading, the universe aligned just right to have our very first trade on the first day of the year be our 369th trade. This is symbolic to us because if you search the Tesla 369 theory, you will learn that 369 reveals the universal key to unlocking infinite potential, and you will see us using 369 as a metaphor to symbolize clarity, alignment, transparency, and transformation in everything we do. The Smart Matrix gives us the ability to see each of our assets against every other asset we are watching or holding, even if they are not directly paired within the exchange we are trading in. Full color icons represent assets we currently hold, while grayed out icons with dotted borders indicate assets that are currently in our watch list but that we do not yet own. By opening the asset list, clicking on the From side, and hovering over each of our assets, the matrix wheel gives us an instant preview of the percentage gains that each asset has against the others. Let's take a look at our USD block, which currently shows a gain of 0 across all assets. Unlike risk assets, which show a gain or loss from the start, fiat blocks only reflect gains or losses after being used to purchase risk assets and later sold back into fiat currency. This current block of USD is what we call a Genesis block, which means that it has yet to be deployed into the market, and therefore will not start recording gains or losses against any other asset until it is first traded into a risk asset. All of our starting assets in this account were divided into smaller blocks, each with an initial value of around $500. And since this block is approximately $1,300, we will use the split tool to divide it into 3 smaller blocks to align it more closely with the start value of the others. Now let's go ahead and trade one of these blocks into BTC. In the trade preview window, we can see that the initial deployment of this dollar block will not record any gain or loss, as it is simply being utilized for the first time. After the trade fills, we can see that this BTC block shows a slight loss against USD. This is due to the trading fee incurred during the transaction, as well as the fact that if we were to immediately trade back to USD, we'd incur yet another fee, which is reflected in the fee zone. The fee zone represents the necessary price increase required to go above the price paid in order to achieve the break-even point and to enter into the block's win zone. Let's navigate to the History tab to review this last trade. When Genesis blocks are traded, they're classified as deployment trades, representing an initial entry into a risk asset where no gain or loss is recorded, and as a result they do not impact the performance graphs, nor is a trade number assigned. Now let's move to our performance graphs to analyze the overall account activity. By clicking here, we can see the zoomed-in view of our market value graph. Over the past month of trading, our account value has fluctuated, rising with the market gains and dipping during declines. Thanks to our recent trades and the market's upward momentum, our current market value has now surpassed our starting value of $67,000. However, without the 369 asset-to-asset trades that increased the quantity of assets we currently own, and if we still held only the original quantities reflected by their start values, our current account value would instead be down at $63,000, as represented by the orange line. Let's click here to return to the account performance overview where we can view the portfolio growth graph. This graph shows the aggregated percentage increase in quantity of each asset that we hold. As we accumulate more units of each asset, the line dynamically updates, adding new ticks to the graph with each trade we execute. Now let's examine the trade value graph. This graph tracks the cumulative progression of each trade in dollar value, incrementally adding the realized profit or loss from each trade. It also compares each trade to the value of simply having bought and held the original quantities of each asset. The market value graph, on the other hand, functions a bit differently in that it calculates the total aggregated portfolio value of your entire account at the moment of each trade. It also compares this to the value of having simply bought and held the original quantities of each asset at their USD start values. In both graphs, the orange line reflects the overall market value of the original starting quantities of each asset, serving as a buy and hold benchmark for comparison. Over time, the difference between these lines and our actual trade results highlight how the gains in our portfolio growth graph translate into additional value over a buy and hold scenario. The difference between the two lines is driven by the gains in portfolio growth, and it is what we refer to as portfolio growth impact. This represents the percentage difference between the value of our current assets and the value of their original starting quantities. Simply put, our portfolio growth impact shows that our portfolio is currently 6.46% higher in value than having simply just bought and held the original starting quantities of all of our assets and not had made any trades. To view the delta between these two lines represented as a single line, let's go ahead and click here. This is the portfolio growth impact graph, which provides a clear visualization of how the consistent unit increase of our assets over the past month has impacted the value of our account compared to a buy and hold scenario, regardless of fluctuations in the overall market. At Enixis, we define this incremental growth as the true performance of our trading account. To examine this account in action yourself, simply go to enixis.com and click the Enter Demo button, allowing you to enter into your own copy of this account at any time. Thank you for watching, and please join us to continue learning more in the next episode.